All right, let's bring up your feedback and see what you're saying. I see some of them are questions here, but let's read some of the feedback before we get into the discussion on the BBI, the road ahead, and find out what they're saying in this feedback at Trevor Mbija, Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag DAYBREAK. Fernandez Flitz says, with all those concerns, Linturi still says he will not vote no. Why can't they launch a no campaign and tell Kenyans to reject this? In fact, let's start from there. Mithika, that is directly to you. I'll read the next one.
Yes.
There's a question there from Fernandez saying that with all this, are you still saying you will not vote no? Why can't you just launch a no campaign?
But you see, the constitutional amendments or constitutional debate is not about Linturi. What I say in this is our duty as Kenyans to tell and to explain the contents of the BBI so that they can form an informed decision. As a civilized Kenyan, I will take up my civil duty and I will vote in the constitution. I'll vote if the referendum was to come. But whether I vote yes or no, you know, voting is done by secret ballot. So, and that's how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
So, I didn't say that. I cannot abdicate that responsibility.
Okay.
Yes. All
right. Let's bring in another one. Okelo Mwalimu says, Mithika Linturi says Kenyans have been persuaded to accept BBI on one side of his mouth. He then claims this has been done through coercion, intimidation, and blackmail from the other side. Ridiculous. You want to respond to that as well?
The guy has a right to his own opinion.
Yeah.
This is what I read from the motions that have been taking place in this whole constitutional debate.
Okay.
If it was, and I trying to explain that this is what I am projecting. This is what I can prophesy.
Yeah.
Yeah? Because I remember I mentioned that when I said even when it comes to the National Assembly and the Senate, it will pass. Right?
Okay.
It was not absolute.
Okay. Let's see the next one here. Engineer Lazaro says, approving BBI bill by all Mount Kenya counties is a clear indication the ground is shifting from Tanga propaganda. Kangata's statement was dictated by some Tanga propagandist. Is that how you see it, Honorable Maoka Maori? Does this mean then that it is an approval from that region?
Actually, before we began this journey about a month ago, the issue mostly on the ground was that you cannot sell BBI there. Now, when we went there, they faced them and told them to look at the document, not to tell them to support us.
Yeah.
To look at the document. They tried. Secondly, the issue of, let's say, Wanjiku. Because I had my friend there say that Wanjiku does CFU satellite. No. Actually, the mistake that is in the Kenyan Constitution today is something called public participation. What you need after every 5 years, the Wanjiku has an opportunity to pick their representative. Article 95 and 96 through 97 there.
Yeah.
Now, this Wanjiku, when you go and do an election, you go home. Matters regarding policy formulation and a lot of other things, you leave to those who you elected to represent you. Now, if they are a bad representative, you have an opportunity of another referendum in 5 years to go and gauge that guy, did he perform or he didn't perform? So you vote for him or against him. And that's why this country, we have actually a 70% turnover on members of parliament on every election. So those of us who have gone through an election and another one, it is not a common phenomenon. So this Wanjiku thing is used as a scarecrow. Wanjiku actually has a responsibility in the MCA who endorsed it yesterday. If you go to Meru, there were 68 MCAs. It's 2 who voted against. So the majority carried the day. So the majority of those MCAs, when they go to their wards, they represent the people.
Do you believe that
when it comes to parliament, pardon?
Do you believe that the will of the people was reflected through the MCAs, knowing everything that happened just before
after the voting? The will of the people is reflected in their leaders. If what my friend is saying about Baringo happens, that somebody has written to Baringo MCAs to investigate them. If that one was, if there was a letter like that, I'm sure it would have been headline on the Citizen and even our newspapers. It would be interference with the actually the power of legislation. If I go and abstain or vote for or against an issue, I'm protected by law. Yeah. So what we need to understand as our debate this morning, it's about the road ahead. Yesterday we finished the major step of the county assemblies. Yeah. The threshold of 24 counties was nearly, is nearly going like a unanimous, except for Baringo. As of now, 38 counties, 38 have endorsed, 1 has opposed. So that step, we are already past that. So the next step is Parliament.
Yeah.
When we have Parliament, the Senate and the members of Parliament will pass it. And the law requires that if we pass it or not, we are still going for a referendum. So what we need to understand is, as we go to this journey of referendum, we need serious public education.
Okay.
Public education, when the senator was in Maua last time with the leader of, the deputy president, the screaming that was happening in those rallies, which was about 2 months ago, it was hatutaki BBI. Na hata tukaimbiwa nyimbo na huyo mama wa Malindi. Hatutaki BBI. They never went to tell people there's a problem in BBI 1, 2, 3. For example, me, I have a serious problem on some major issues in it that were rejected by the people, but they found their way into the document in those debates. Yeah. For example, I can tell you they never wanted the women representative. They never wanted the Senate, but they are still retained. Now, those are compromises. My interests and your interests, we may never agree on them to be in the documents or to be removed. Yeah. And once people have enjoyed that kind of privilege, like being picked for free seats when you have not worked out on them, when you have enjoyed that privilege, you don't want to lose it. Just like if you have a small constituency and you are told the law doesn't require you to have a small constituency, you need to be the threshold. We want to eliminate it, people get very jittery. Okay. And you could actually see an uproar if you are to say you want to remove a privilege that people have enjoyed for 5, 10 years or even more than a generation. Okay. So what we need to understand is the train has left the station on this referendum. So as we go ahead, how do we deal with now the consequences of a referendum or a document that has an issue 1 or 2, 3? That's what we should be debating about. Okay. But about the road to a referendum, we were given a clear signal yesterday that we are actually headed to a referendum, nothing else in between. And as at the referendum, it is 0. Okay. So we need now to organize how to make the road, if there are thorns, to clear them.
To clear it. All right. Changuonya, I'll come back to the feedback in just a bit. But as we head into the referendum, because ultimately now the buck stops with the people, isn't it time then that the people are sensitized and told this is what the BBI is saying, now make an informed decision? So that it's not a decision by the political elite, but the Wanjiku themselves. They should understand at this particular point it is still a contest from against who and who. In fact, there's been a conversation about what does this win mean for 2022. What should be the focus going into the referendum for the Wanjiku?
Yeah, thank you so much, Trevor. Let me begin from the comment Mheshimiwa Maoka Maore made on public participation in this country. Public participation is a cornerstone of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. And the way we look at it, its implementation has had shortcomings, both at the county level and the national level. Yeah. You've reduced it to an election, but an election participation by the citizens is not only the conclusion of public participation by the citizenry. There is also the implementation of government development agenda, where the citizen needs to be involved because the main elector, the owner of this country, and also the resource generator of this country through tax paying, because that is the person whose effect of everything that is being decided is going, to feel the pain. Yeah. Because when we say we are increasing representation, it will be through internally generated taxes. Who is the taxpayer? The Wanjiku that I've kept on referring here. And of course, Wanjiku also has the responsibility to hold the representation accountable, to hold them. And that is why there are provisions of recall, there are provisions of petitions, there are provisions of, giving report cards through periodic, campaigns. And of course, we have a 5-year cycle in our country. And of course, as you ask very well, that moving forward now, after the majority of the county assemblies have passed the BBI proposed document, what is in it for Wanjiku? I think the first and the priority, like the way it happened in 2005, in 2010, is civic education for a common mwananchi in this country to understand. And of course, I would even want to move from common mwananchi, because even though the middle class and the people who access, let's say, newspapers and the media might not as well even be informed. So there should be a robust civic education that needs to take shape in this country, free from politics, free from political coercion, free from political shite shows, and this can be done by non-partisan groups, maybe the religious groups, or let's say the civil society organizations. And of course, nothing stops even those groups working with the political class. Because, the political class are the representatives of the people. Like, for instance, if I went to the, the county of Honorable Senator Mithika Linturi, for instance, and I come out of out of that, county, and probably I get a platform to educate them, let's say, on Article 43 on economic and social rights, and the amendment as proposed by the BBI. What stops me working together with Mheshimiwa Senator Linturi in his county, educating Kenyans to understand him? Or in his political tour in Rift Valley? What stops him from educating the Rift Valley people on the content? But of course, the unfortunate and the shortcoming that we have in this country is looking everything through the political lens. And of course, that has been our great undoing, because we try to interpret and say, whose side is that being proposed, or being like, for instance, now these by-elections that have just been concluded in this country. You see how they were reduced into a BBI conversation? A major constitutional reform agenda in this country is being reduced into a 2022 question. That even we ask ourselves on this table, that is this even not most likely to change the calendar of the next elections? If we are talking about new boundary delimitations of constituencies, how long will that take? It's not a day's job, it's not a week's job. It takes 24 to 30, it takes 24 months or something like that, because people have to make agreements, agree, because it can also generate conflicts if it's not well managed by the responsible body as provided for in the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
All right, no, Mithika?
Yeah, to me, this process should have, you cannot trust the politicians in creating awareness on a document in which they have interest. Because whether it is those that are interested in running for president or ensuring that the constitution passes, and for that matter, they can easily have an opportunity to run for office again because the law does not act in retrospect, or for whatever reason. I think we should have really bought from what the law provides, that you don't participate in a matter that gives you, or that you are really interested in. So when we have decided to reduce the constitutional debate to matters between the political players, this is the tragedy of the whole thing. And the best constitutions are not made during times of crisis. How I wish this debate was done immediately after the 2017 elections, because the temperatures that are high now would have subsided in the course of time. So we have a problem. I don't know how we'll be able to face how to solve this constitutional problem. But I hope the end product of those process will be able to give Kenya an opportunity for us to rethink and reflect on our past, and remember that we must build on our current to secure our future as a country.
Okay. Let's bring up the feedback. There's still a lot more coming through, and finish reading them through. But for now, I'll bring in Honorable Maoke on this. How then do we secure the interest of Wanjiku going forward?
No, I think from the beginning to the end, there is a feeling of having people on board. And that is why it is going to a referendum. Wanjiku is going to be voting in the referendum, not the leaders. Now, the problem that is arising is when we are having accusations of maybe intimidation, coercion. I want to give you an example of when we fixed the Sagana meeting. I will tell you, as the whip of the caucus of the parliamentarians, I was responsible for sending invitations to members. We did not send any invitation until 4 o'clock on that day, on the day before. That's actually January 29th. Before we could send the invitations, 41 of our members from the Mount Kenya caucus, actually they were not 41, because if they were 41, we could not be having 48. Quite a number. They went and signed a letter castigating the event and raising a lot of issues, saying how they feel it is the wrong time, we are not addressing coffee, we are not addressing tea, and you know those are not things that can be in the constitution about coffee or tea. But you hear every member who wants to fight it from the same region, they are addressing other spurious issues, mostly the differences between the president and his deputy, but they don't want to say that. They want to say that the president is not handling the matter right, he is coercing people or he is forcing people. He is the leader, and you have no time to discuss with him or meet him, but you go and write a letter, which was made the headline in the newspapers and the television stations. It was actually meant to intimidate us, those who are going to Sagana. Now, the issue that is arising is, if we are working on the same journey, people should be saying, no, you are not doing the right thing. Let us tell people this way. They are not interested in telling the people. They are interested in us fighting as leaders. Because the fight about Sagana meeting, it was not fighting on behalf of the people. It was fighting on behalf of the politicians. Yeah. And this is why we are in a cloudy environment in some regions. And I can tell you, 80% of the anti-BBI stories actually wandered in that region of Mount Kenya for the period since the date of the handshake. And that is why we have taken the effort to demystify that this is a lie, this is politics, and this is being spread by your enemies. And you tell, first the people tell, hii mtu wanawambia mukatae hii kitu, if the resources coming to you, mtu wanakwambia wachana na kuweka kwa katiba, we want it encoded in law, not in the goodwill of a politician. You know, you are saying that you can give 15%. Yes, because the law requires you minimum of 15. Suppose you get somebody who doesn't want that, even that 15 to go. He can only give you minimum of 15 because it is in law. But if you put it at 35, anytime you don't get a resource, after you are finished at the national cake, you have 100 shillings. Now we are getting 15 shillings to the counties or to the devolved units. But if the law requires 35, there is no time when you don't get that resource. You will never give minimum or under 35%.
Right.
You always give 35%. It doesn't matter. So those who are telling the money is not there, when the money will be there, what happens? Or even today or next year, when you will be sharing out the national cake, you will never share minimum, less than 35%. When that money is there or not, you have to go by the percentages of the last audited accounts.
You know, I wouldn't really don't like interrupting a speaker, but I wouldn't want Maoka Maore to run away by in misleading the viewers and the public, because I am one of the people who signed that letter to the president.
Saying it was unpopular on the ground.
No, that was Kangata. But the letter I signed, and we sent very clearly, we are trying to address him to the issues that relate to the people of Mount Kenya, because we were not invited for the Sagana meeting. That one I can say from the top of the roof. We were not, and is one of the whips that were inviting people, if that is what he is saying.
He will answer if
the issues that we were raising are issues that are so pertinent, so critical to the people that we represent, because it is rare. We have no opportunity to address the president on the issues that our people are facing. And whenever you go to the ground, people are always saying, this is what we require. And very briefly, and this is where we get into a problem, where when people become political sycophants, for lack of a better word, and whereby you lose your conscience because of enjoying certain power, for that which is short-lived, and forget the people who you are supposed to represent for giving you that honor to represent them. That is where we do not want to get to as the 41 members of parliament, because we don't want to be part of the choir that is permanently telling the president everything else is right when it is not. And what I send, and I remember very well, is that we send Mr. President, Your Excellency, because we love you and you are our leader, and there is no doubt about this. Please, when you have the opportunity, address the issue of unfulfilled promises to the people of Gema. We have unfinished projects that were started by your government. You will be exiting in 2 years' time. And these projects, some of them are 80%, 20, 10, 30. They have not been completed because they are underfunded. That's within. 2, we zoned, and it was specific. I sent, because this is where I have participated in drafting this arrangement. I sent, and if you look at the statement, you find we sent, the Miraa market has been lost during your time as our president. And this is the main economic mainstay of the Gembe people and the Meru people. We have no income. So please, use your diplomatic and your relations with the people of Somalia and everybody else to restore the Somali market. That was my contribution. That is what we sent. And we are saying this because we do not have an opportunity to tell him. Then we also brought about the issues of the intimidation and the threats on the politicians that are perceived not to be supported. And remember, the ones I'm saying is perceived because nobody, even in this BBI thing, you'll be surprised. You have not found anybody saying that the BBI did not bring some bit of some resemblance of peace in the country, and for that matter, we should throw it away. No, what we say is that we do not want a situation where you create a harsh adverse system situation because we all require to move forward as a country. And those issues that we thought were so important and required to be addressed, we've been saying, let us compromise, let us address them so that there is a win-win situation. That has been our story. Otherwise, this other story that we are this gentleman talking about is because they want to create a situation where there is a fight or there is undefined so that our India, they have a reason to raid the treasury, get money to say I'm going for a referendum, right? When we do not have money, and when that money should be applied in securing masks for our children, fighting COVID-19, and other money to pay even other people that are owned money by government. Okay. That's what we think.
I'll come to you.
There are issues that Honorable Maure has raised here. But, you know, I began by saying that the problems of this country is a national value issues. You know, embracing each other, accountability, transparency, you know, patriotism, national unity, and all this, you know, stuff that is provided for Article 10 of the Constitution. Let me ask you, Honorable Maure, why, with the provision of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 on the minimum allocation to counties on 15%, what stops us from this Constitution by even raising that to 35%? Nothing. It is the political goodwill.
No, there's nothing.
It's a value issue, you know, a problem, because even with this 15% to the counties is now even a major issue in this country. And I think Honorable Mithika Ndiluri raised that thing here. So even we put at 35%, are you sure we are not going to engage into cycles of excuses that we are not able to raise 35% because we are focused on the Chinese loans?
No.
And then Honorable Linturi, you raised a very, you know, interesting thing that politicians are not trusted to conduct a civic education. Currently, with the prevailing, you know, conditions that we have in our country, that is true. But as a change of the mindset and the attitudes, we need to move from that, because if voters can trust you with their votes, why should they not trust you with your representation when you go to parliament? By even giving them feedback on government proposals, on what is contained on government documents, and even knowledge in simplifying what is in the government manifesto and the agenda, that now this is what the government development agenda entails. That is civic education. This is what the Constitution contains. Why immediately after an election, the voter looks at you from a political lens of alignments in parliament, whether in the National Assembly or in the Senate? So, and that is the correction that I plead that we Kenyans, we must change, so that we have politicians who can also be our agents of change in this country.
Now, I think I want to agree with you totally about changing the mindset of the people. That will be very important, and we look forward to it. But in the meantime, people believe and they trust the leaders they have elected. That is why it is dangerous when the politicians choose a different path from that of honesty. I'll give you a quick example. When we hear of the meeting at Sagana was meant actually by the president to talk to his people who had been incited for 2 years against him and his government and his policies. every Sunday, every weekend. Actually, they used to begin, sometimes the events would begin on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 2 years. No any other place of the country where there were churches to go to for 2 years. Now, he wanted to meet the people and tell them, please, let us move a different path. And you have been told lies and deceptions. And when he told the people that, they listened. Now, my senator, when they were writing that letter, they were talking about the promises the president made, the projects that are incomplete, or that is true. About the Mira market, everybody knows. The Somalia and the Kenya, they have diplomatic zero. There is nobody to talk to Somalia or someone in Somalia to talk to Kenya. So there is not much the president can do that. But if you want him blamed and say, wake up one morning and say, oh, president has refused to open the Mira market for us in Somalia. No. It is not possible to open the Mira market today until we have change of government or a different line of government mentality in Mogadishu. That's another example. But if you talk about promises and projects, the Sagana meeting never talked about projects and promises. Actually, the president talked 1 hour and 23 minutes. He was just trying to describe the situation he finds himself in with his political party now, with whom they began the journey together in 2013. And they are no longer together. He is undermining him every day. He is abusing him. He is disrespecting him. He is using every language to fight him. He was actually coming to cry to the people.
So are you saying that is what the president said in Sagana?
Yes.
Okay.
He came and said, please let us move together, ignore the lies by my partner, and listen to me. There has been changes before of the constitution in the 70s, and a few of our people thought they were very comfortable riding in that long presidential limousine in the 70s, and they refused to listen to the discourse of the changes of the constitution that time, which would be harmonious in the community. He did not come to do a manifesto or reflect on his manifesto in the last election. Yeah. So the politicians who were writing the letter, they knew it is not going to be about promises, the project. We were not reviewing about what is happening in Igembe North or in Meru. He was reviewing after 8 years. He has 1 year left in office and a half. In this 1 year, he wants this document to be passed as part of his legacy to secure the representation I talked about, the resources I talked about, so that you don't have to go and beg the way you are asking what stops somebody from giving you 15% and more. Today, there is no county which has not been receiving 15% over the years. If there is a delay, there is a difference between a default and a delay. So you tell me there is a county which has not been receiving what is prescribed in the law, we would be having a constitutional crisis. But from now, it is not going to be 15%. It will be 35%. Every year when the money comes, you will have to move and get your 35% minimum. So when you want me to trust a politician, aingia hapo atakwambia wewe wachana na hii maneno iko kwa hii kitabu. Trust me, throw away this document which guarantees you 35%, but trust me, when I go there, I will give you 40% or even 50%. Would you trust that one, or you want it anchored in law?
Okay.
Yep.
No, let me say I'm happy that Maure now has told me what happened in Sagana, because most of those things are speculation. But I also want the country to know that contrary to what he's saying, that we knew what was discussed, then I didn't know. I've just come to know now. And for that matter, I think it's common knowledge, and the people, and also the people that have been attending the DP's functions in Meru, in Kiambu, wherever, because they are listening. And those that are not listening will have an opportunity. They have the duty to decide whether whatever has been said is true or not, because people have been attending those functions. Yeah. And I personally, at a personal level, when we had an Arambe in Tharaka, the DP gave money on behalf of Uhuru Kenyatta, $1 million shillings for an Arambe. And I even whispered to him, I told you must be lying. I don't think Uhuru gave you 1 million to donate to these people. That is me. So whatever meeting we had been to, right, the DP has never spoken bad about the president. He's permanently been talking about Big Four. So it is very unfair to condemn him that way. And if the president called to a meeting in Sagana to demonstrate to the people of that region, the 5,000 people, how DP has been respectful, how he's not been loyal, to me, I don't think it was fair because I have never had such a meeting. And secondly, because these leaders that have been there, even if that was to be the case, and I'm saying even if that was the case, who would you say, or has been lying to them, who would you say is a greater liar between the two? Someone who comes out in the open and says, I will support this guy for 10 years, he has supported us for 10 years, and another 10 years, we will support him, and then appears to be running away from the promise. Who would you want us to believe from the two? What is said in, in a closed room, or what has been said in public? This just the few examples I can be able to pick. But all said and done, I am so worried because I am a leader from that region, and I believe that I have also a duty to talk to our people. Time has come when we must now be more cautious about our unity as a people. How we relate as a Mount Kenya region with the rest of the country. Because thereafter, there will be life after the exit of President Uhuru Kenyatta as our president. And we've not had any contest in terms of leadership, in terms of who is in charge of this particular region politically. But I wouldn't want us to be boxed into a situation where we find ourselves alienated from other people because of the small mistakes or perceptions that may be created that we can never be trusted, that we are conmen, we are disloyal, and we can never support other people. So that is my only caution. And finally say that what has continually surprised me is, other than looking at how Kibaki conducted this last 2, 3, 4 last time in Parliament, the Mzee was very good, concentrated on his delivery on the economy and other things. Now, our major problem now, right now, is the shift in policy and focus from the Big Four agenda or the issues that we are supposed to prosecute as Jubilee, and now we can see a president who is permanently on a campaign trail when he's retiring. That is my only dangerous, serious problem with the situation in the country and on the ground at the moment.
Quick, not a comment.
Yes.
I would want to invite the senator to look at the videos of all their rallies, and specifically on the last two ones. When the Sonko was on the top of a vehicle and playing a clip, what he was saying about the president, whether it was not an abuse. Secondly, the Thanksgiving thing in Musambweni, the content of the same Sonko and the Senator Mwaura. You will look at it and you will see if it is the DP who said those things or it is those people. What the trick has been, go with that people, choreograph them to do all those insults, and then when you are concluding, you say, oh, I respect the president, we are having a good economy, we are having a good government, and everything is going on very well. That has been the style for the last 3 years.
But
you said this happened in Mount Kenya, not in Musambweni, not in Dika, this happened there. He said what the president was telling the people of Kenya for 3 years.
I'm saying all the rallies in Mount Kenya has been using those Mount Kenya MPs to use Pharaoh language on the president. Every one of them, whether it is a Sunday or whatever it was, in Meru or wherever it is, look at those ones and what the members say and what the DP says are totally different.
Though it is not fair for me to hold you responsible for something Mithika says, even if he's your supporter, right?
No. What I'm saying
criminal
is,
responsibility is individual.
I want you to listen here. We are on a national television. We are supposed to educate the people about mischief and deception.
Exactly.
If I go with 10 members of parliament, it is me who has organized that rally. And they go and they say silly things. I should come and correct, come up and correct. For example, when Sonko and Senator Mwaura were abusing the president and his family in Musambweni, it was the duty of the deputy president to wake up and say, no, you can't say that, or even stop him. If things are said in my presence, where I'm the chief guest, that I don't subscribe to, I would clarify there and there. It is not a matter of guesswork.
Changwenya, I think you're the only one who's neutral on this one. We cannot hold someone responsible for what another person's utterances, even if they are your supporter, right?
So you know, Trevor, it goes back to the value question, which I raised before. That if our politicians would organize themselves with the agenda of the common citizens as a priority, all these shenanigans would not be there. Even these abuses. Because these abuses that you hear from politicians is a way of trying to draw attention of the poor Mwananchi. And you see it receives a lot of claps in this country. you know, the rally was very enjoyable. It was very entertaining.
Yeah.
But that's not about development. What stops our politicians from refraining from doing that and saying, for instance, now, this SGR that was a flagship project, let's say for the government, what benefits has it given us from Mombasa to Nairobi? And now we are going to Naivasha, and we will either be going to Malaba or in Kisumu, or let's say in Nanyuki, or Mount Kenya for that matter, for the sake of our tourism.
Yeah.
So what stops that? But why are we hearing less of such kind of development conversations, and we are reducing our political conversations into social entertainments that I don't know who is, stronger than the other, and we hear of all these, and you wonder that is not even their formula of seeking votes during campaigns. They only convert themselves when they reign or when they are sent to power or to leadership and position of decision making. So for me, I think if we can also have the political class changing their mindset and saying, when I was elected to parliament, whether the National Assembly or the Senate, I don't need to be reduced to be a patronage of a particular politician.
Yeah.
But of course, this has to go a long way into also us as voters choosing the right people to be in position of leadership and power, so that we get the services that we deserve as people. Because you see, when you look at it, even after the promulgation of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, yeah. We thought our problems were over. We've got a new constitution. We have a president now that will be listening to us. We have a democratic space. We have the media, which is free. We have civil society that now is going to operate without necessarily getting tear gas. But you see, even tear gas increased more with this constitution than even with the old constitution. But why that? It's because we've not cultivated the right attitude in all the spheres of our lives, whether in business, because you see now, even this thing that BBI now is raising around corruption. Even when you look at the KEMS scandal, the Kimwarere scandal, who are involved is the business class.
Yeah.
And you'll never miss the political class there. Who is the loser in all this? It is the citizen, the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Or the person whose name has been used to borrow these huge loans from foreign countries. Yeah. Because Kenya will not exist without citizens. Yeah. So we'll say we exist as a people, and for us, we submit ourselves as CSTs. We want to construct this particular project because of the benefits of the people, and that's how you attract these kind of sympathies and the awards from our friends. But why all these gaps and loopholes? It is because of dishonesty in our value system.
Okay. All right, I have to take a quick break here. When I come back, I'll take feedback and then get your closing remarks on this conversation as we wind up on the BBI, the road ahead. What does this now mean for 2022? That's where we go to next, all right? See you in a bit.